Happy Wednesday, I believe it is. I'm getting on quite late today. hmm It's been a full on day. It's raining outside, and I was reminded that Rita, you have decided over 100 days to show up on LinkedIn and YouTube 5 days a week. So it doesn't matter how you feel, let's do this. So I want to show up just 100% transparent that sometimes we're actually feeling tired, and I get to feel tired as well. And I said, okay, well, I am still going to show up here. So for those of you, if anyone is listening to me live today, I would love, love, love to hear, where are you dialing in from? I am still in Norway, not so long before I'm off to even colder places, which is Iceland. But then after that, I am going off to warmer places, which is Dubai and then India. So getting ready for that. Now, something that has been on my mind lately, because it is something that I hear not only my clients are talking about, but I'm also hearing it from my own colleagues, from the mastermind that I'm part of. I hear it from the mastermind that I am running. And this is about feeling lesser than or smaller than, and nobody on the outside would ever think that is going on. And I thought I wanted to share a story myself. Some of you might have heard it before, but I think it's important because it's really about, if we walk around and we think that everyone else has got all their thing together, we can rest assured and say, no, that is not true. And usually myself and with my clients, I always say this: remember this, that when you go into a room and it might be you and another person, remember, in that room there are always four people. It is you and your inner critic, it is the other person and that person's inner critic. The challenge is, you only know yourself and your own inner critic, but you see the person in front of you and you only judge by that cover. And very often we tend to judge that, oh, wow, they have got their thing together and here I am, and all these things. So we're trying to keep ourselves just together, right? So it's a tip that I would always give to anyone that I'm talking to, that if you know what's going on inside yourself, can you imagine that the same thing is also going on the other person's inside? So in August, I experienced something that I thought, my God, I would never experience again, but I did. I was going to meet with a group of people, high level leaders, and we were going to meet in Lake Como, spending time together for about 5 days. And yeah, I was a bit, nervous about it and all these things, but nothing more than that. And when I'm stepping into this meeting or this masterminding that we're doing, so we're about 30 people, I'm starting to notice with myself that when I'm sharing, I'm holding myself back and I'm literally just sharing what I think the other people want to hear. Um, and it was so obvious that I caught myself in it, and I raised my voice and I said, you know what? After I had shared and the other had been sharing, I said, I want to just claim a bit of time back and say, you know what? I've been scared of taking up too much space as I was sharing, because I told you what I thought you wanted to hear, because I literally felt that I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm not good enough. So that felt really good. Still, throughout the arrangement of these 5 days, I got to experience the biggest trigger, and my biggest trigger is actually other women who seem that they've got all their thing together, that they are just so they know the perfect articulation, everything seems so perfect. And I was walking around that my entire nervous system was so activated that I actually felt myself close to crying. And that, in my case, I did cry as well. But I was so triggered. And I was going back in my own history to understand, where does this come from? And it took me back to when I was 9 years old. You see, when I was 9 years old, my girlfriends were always older than me. They were like 11, 12. And one day I remember the leader of the pack. She was taller, long blonde hair. She said to me that, or she said to this group of girls that, oh, why don't we have this kind of party down at the playground? And we go back and we put on the beautiful dresses and we meet down here. And I remember running home. I went into my grandmother. She was a seamstress for the theater, and I borrowed a yellow dress from the theater, and it was just so beautiful. And running down there to this playground, and they're standing there, and I walk through the gate, and they turn around, and they look at me, and they say, "What are you doing here?" And I say, "Well, aren't we going to like play and have fun and all these things?" And basically what they said, and in particular this one girl was like, "Who do you think you are? You're just a baby. Like we are adults. We are the grown-ups," whatever. They were like 12 years, 11, 12. And I remember the shame. I had to leave. I had to leave. They were looking at me. I had to leave. And from that very moment, I've always felt lesser than. I always felt that when I was in group with other girls, and it was always so that they tended to be older than me, and I always felt I need to shrink, and I wasn't good enough, right? So the thing that happened then, actually, when I was in Como, was that that younger side of myself that was ultra triggered, and it was almost like the person in my driver seat was this young version of myself. Imagine you're surrounded by these enormous leaders, and inside you is like a 9-year-old girl who's acting out and she's feeling frightened and all these things. I'm curious, as I'm just telling this story, is there anything that is showing up for you? Have you ever experienced anything similar to the story that I'm telling, where you're feeling out of place, right? So in the meeting in Como, I had actually also shared with the leader, because we had all these questions about what you don't know about me. And what I basically said was that what you don't know about me is that I'm terrified and intimidated by powerful women. And the interesting thing is that that was raised on the last day. And he read this note and he said, I am scared and intimidated by other powerful women. Nobody in the room would guess that was me. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And this is where the conversation comes, as how we are showing up on the outside, but it's so far away from what we're feeling on the inside. And what happened later on was, even when we were meeting up together in the Zoom call, I felt I'm scared to take up too much space. So I even shared that with one of the other colleagues, a beautiful man. And he always said to me that, Rita, if you feel that you're scared of taking up space, let me know so I can help you. So I texted him and I said, you know what? I'm finding myself again. I feel intimidated. All these people in this room are so powerful. I don't know if I have anything to contribute with. So he said, well, maybe that is why you are here. That is a cave, the dark cave you need to go through in order to experience what you're supposed to experience. In that moment, I realized that I get to choose whether I want to be the woman that is steered by a 9-year-old. Because the question I had to myself, if I'm looking back at my son and everything that I did for Benjamin, would I have been able to be part of his legacy, help him to live until he was 27 and a half, if I was this version of myself that was so intimidated and kind of scared and not taking up space and not speaking up? No, I won't. Step over and think about, when have I really gone all in? And I realized when I was working for the case of Benjamin, and I thought, that is the person I want to be. But what I've heard so many times from my clients are the stories of, like, one who, this was a story actually I heard yesterday. And this was a guy, he's a known, very known, famous character in finance. He is only surrounded by top elite people like presidents and this and that, and you name it. But his story was that I always feel that like an outsider immigrant boy. And every time I need to push harder, I need to show up differently, because I'm so used to having to do that. So on the inside is very different to what I'm actually projecting on the outside. I'm sharing this because I want to demystify, if you're walking around and you're feeling less than and you're scared of taking up space, you might be a leader in an organization. You might have a very prestigious position. I hear you. I hear you, that you also can say, yeah, if people knew what was going on the inside, maybe I wouldn't even be in this room, right? I wouldn't have been in this room. It's normal to think like that. And it's actually in these areas where we feel our darkest, where we feel that we don't want to speak up or take up too much space. Or I have a client who basically said that she had always been told that she needed to lower her voice and don't speak so loud and aggressive and all these things, like growing up. And she started to kind of hold herself back. And what that resulted in was that when she finally felt that, no, I need to speak up, the only way she knew how to do it was to be forceful. So she forced herself to speak up in a manner where then people were like, why are you angry? Because she was so used to suppressing, and she was scared of speaking up. Another client of mine, she shared about, she was always called to be shy, and shy in the sense of, yeah, she's just so shy, and this is a girl, and all these. And when she grew up, she did everything she could just get away from this label of being shy, of not speaking up. So she took on a persona that was forced. And when we started to work and we started to investigate, what is this shyness? What was behind when they called you shy? What was really going on? And she started to remember the way of which she loved to watch people and see and pay attention, and in that work helped her to return to being that person and really owning it, instead of being kind of taking on a personality that was looking like she was an extrovert but actually is an introvert, and she wanted this space of observing, because that is who she truly is, and she managed to step into that zone of genius of her. But again, I'm sharing this because when we are doing when we are showing up, remember, you are not alone feeling the way you feel. We all have that element of us, every single one. There's not one person walking on this planet that doesn't have something inside of them that is triggering them. And there are ways to get out of it, in the sense of it's still going to be part of who we are, but we don't have to make it the one who drives our car or is in the driver's seat. Or it doesn't mean that we have to do everything to go against this voice. I'm going to prove this wrong, and I'm going to prove that I can do it, going to prove all these things. No, there are easier ways to go about it. So again, I'm curious what shows up for you. If you are listening to this as a replay, or if you are here live. I don't think you're here live, because it's like it's not even end of the day, but it's close to it, and you're on your way home. Or if it's in the US, you're probably not in the office yet. But anyway, I love to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And maybe I will have a bit more energy tomorrow. So for that, sending love, and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye for now.